So welcome to Community Connect Call. I started doing these last year, and then I kind of fell off for the last few months as things got a little bit busy and crazy. My intention was to do them almost once a month, but it's been a few months since the last one. I thought this was a good time to, just put it out there. Hey, let's get together. Let's talk about what's going on in times like this. Well, I don't know. I've never experienced a time quite like this. Probably I don't think anybody else in the world has either. It's crazy that, we had 9/11 in whatever year that was, 2001, right? Yeah. And that pretty much tanked the business I had at that time with my former husband, also tanked my marriage. You never know what's going to happen, right? The recession in 2008, the financial crisis, we got through that. Yeah. In my generation, I've never experienced in the United States, I've never experienced something really, truly, horrific like a war. But I know others who have lived through World War II in Europe. So, I can't even begin to imagine what that was like. But, to have something like this virus that is impacting the entire world at the same time. Same time. I mean, yes, there was SARS and Ebola, and that, at least in my world, that was someplace else. I feel like I'm just haven't been touched by, in many ways by a lot of the horrible crises that go on. I mean, don't live in Syria, where they're experiencing, horrific tragedy every day and other places of the world. So it's kind of this interesting time to, as Janice was saying earlier, take stock. What's important now? How can we, as entrepreneurs and human beings, family members, be the calm in the storm? And that's something that I've been really trying to internalize for myself the last, few days. Really is, okay, I have a choice of how I'm going to behave. Sunday, I binge watched a sci-fi show all day. Not that there wasn't plenty on my to-do list, but, I had to cancel a trip to go visit my mother, which I do every month because she's, elderly and living in assisted living. And turns out they locked everyone down that weekend anyway. And it was a good call for me not to go. It was the right call, as difficult as it was. But, so it's like, okay, what can I as a human being do to, not be the chaos? And
peace over fear.
Yeah. And how can, and of course, I think in terms of business, because most of the people I work with are solo business owners. How do we keep thriving? How do we keep going? Because it doesn't do anybody any good if we crash and burn, right? I mean, there's no one behind me paying the rent. It's like most of us don't have huge buffers, right? Financial buffers. So that was the impetus about putting this together. So I'll get off I don't want this to be the Denise show. But I want to hear from anyone who wants to say anything. But, these are just some of the questions I've been putting forth in the Marketing Trailblazers community and in the intermittent fasting challenge. We've dealt with this a little bit too. How do you keep yourself healthy and moving forward? So that's where I'm looking to go at this moment, and we'll go anywhere anybody wants. So if you have something you'd like to, throw out there right now, let's just have a conversation.
Janice, tell me about yourself. I recognize that name, but what is your line of business?
Social media management for solopreneurs.
Okay.
Yeah, to help them with their blogs, the website, email marketing, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
So do you expect a negative impact on your business?
No, not negative, but it's like it's opening up possibilities. Like this morning, I had a phone call from a client, and she had the intention of, not trading so much her hours for money and wanted to go online doing, consultation online. And now she says, I think this is the time now. It's going to make her move, and she realized she has to do it fast now. We'll see. It's and like I mentioned to Denise, we're all thinking. Actually, people are all thinking about things, so I think it's positive.
Yeah, I'd just like to find out who's on the phone, who's calling in.
Hi, Jeff Cohen.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you?
Nice that you're here. Good.
What line of business are you in, Jeff?
I'm a industrial psychologist, executive coach.
Excellent. You'll have an interesting perspective.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, Josiane. And
hi, Denise. I'm having a bad hair day.
Oh, well, so am I. Mine's sticking out. But anyway, we're not, hair is irrelevant at this moment in time.
Oh my God, tell me about it.
Yeah. So I just kind of opened up saying, one of the first things that I'm thinking about, and I'm curious how you guys are looking at this too, is how can you be the calm in the storm? How can you be that for your clients, your family, your community? And that's part one. And part two is, as small business owners or solo business owners, how do we maintain our businesses and serve at the same time? Because I'm seeing a lot of that too, is people are, well, I just want to serve everyone. Well, that's good, but if you go out of business, that's a problem for everybody, so I mean, there's a ripple effect to every single thing that we're doing. So I'm curious, those are kind of the two questions I'm throwing out there to begin with. So and we're just getting started. So any thoughts about that? Janice,
Well,
I
Denise,
think
I totally, well, first of all, I think that you have been an amazing role model for all of us, because you have jumped in, you have asked what you can do, you have encouraged us to think outside the box, you have encouraged us to think about, how new ways that we can serve our people. And so I just want to express appreciation for that. I think if we do nothing more than follow your lead, I think we'll be okay. I have been, I'm a freelance writer, but I also have a blog, and which I consider almost a ministry, as much as a business. But I've been telling my associates and clients for years that you can't segment personal life, spiritual life, business life. And I think at times like this, it becomes abundantly clear that you can't, at least, and not and stay healthy. And so we can take the principles of our spiritual life into our business. We can apply them to this. And I think that our values and our principles, if they don't serve us in these troubled times, then they're not what we thought they were. And so I'm seeing people, really, as so often they do, which is wonderful. We're seeing some of the best in people. We're seeing a little bit of the worst with the hoarding and some of that. But I will say that for me, and I had expressed this in Marketing Trailblazers, there's a personal silver lining for me, and that is I did not know how stressed and overcommitted I was until I realized how good it felt when it all stopped. So it is a wake-up call to me, and I'll be 70 next month, but it's a wake-up call to me as things get back to normal, and they will, not to really think about, before I put anything back on my plate, to really think about, how is this in sync with my values? Is this in sync with my goals? And of course, the other big thing is it is a time to realize how precious family and friends are. So
Yeah.
those are my immediate reactions.
Yeah. I just want to check in. Who's the phone number 415-706-7092?
That's me. That's me.
So you're on
Denise.
phone and video.
And
Okay.
I logged in twice.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing someone. That's
Okay.
fine. I just wanted to acknowledge. Okay, thank you. Anybody care to expound on that? I think, Jeff or Josiane?
Yeah, well, first, Denise, thank you so much for putting this together. And, I've always followed you for years and years and years, and your timing is always so relevant and so appropriate, and you always do the right things, and welcome everybody else. And, I definitely feel like this is a time, especially being in the service industry, where I want to reach out to my clients. And I had a situation yesterday where I put together my newsletter, and I have about, 4,000 subscribers. And I started with a very heartfelt sort of, hey, I'm so sorry. My heart goes out to you and your families at this time. And then, went into just like, hey, we've been around for a long time, and, don't forget we do virtual training. And I sent it to my daughter, who works at Google in New York, where they're completely devastated. And she just said, Mom, that is so tone deaf. Like, you don't understand what's happening right now. You don't understand how people are losing their jobs. And it was an interesting sort of, her reaction was a bit extreme, but as a service business, like, I've already had yoga instructors that are closed, that are sending out a GoFundMe campaign, like, hey, I have no way of making money right now. And so it's this weird balance of, how do we reach out, tell people we're here, and yet not sound tone deaf. So that's sort of what I wanted to kind of put out there.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that a lot. And I wrestled with this, a few days ago too. It's like, how do I, stay in business and help people too who might be struggling? Doesn't diminish that, you may be struggling too, right? I mean, I don't know what anybody's situation is, but, more of us are struggling than not, I think, in the solopreneur space, because we, are constantly hustling, right? So thank you for bringing that up. I think that's an important piece of how do we message that, right? And that's a big part of what sort of instigated this too, is like, how do we stay in business? So let's mark that one down. Is that, maybe what we can do is just put some topics in the pot and then start addressing them, if that works for everybody. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to?
Yeah, I asked my wife, so far what was worse, 9/11 or the pandemic? And I think we both concluded that it was the pandemic that was that is likely. I mean, it isn't over yet, but I think is likely to be more devastating than 9/11. And I don't know. I mean, certainly the person close to 70 probably remembers something about 9/11, but it's the fact that it is so unpredictable and so internal that people are in this state of panic. And I wasn't planning to buy it, but I bought toilet paper yesterday because I saw it was the dumbest thing, and I laughed at myself about it. But toilet paper is going to be around. Why the hell am I doing that? And I think there's so many people in this panic mode. 9/11, no one talked. Literally, I was out of connection for weeks because everyone was so depressed. Here, I think it's a different kind of process. and that is we just have no clue what the implications are. We've never seen anything like this at all, and that is very scary for a lot of people, and they need control. And believe it or not, buying toilet paper in some way has put people in control, or they feel that they're more in control because they're doing something.
Right.
But there's nothing. There seems to be nothing we can do except hunker down and turn on Netflix. And I don't think either of those are very good, things to do.
It's funny because I had this morning before I got up, I was like, oh, I wonder if I should try to go to the store today. And I was like, Denise, you don't need anything. Like, just wait. I already went to the store last week. I didn't buy toilet paper because I already had some,
Right, I did too. That's not
and I mean, I had to, but I was watching that around me happening, and it was like Thursday in the middle of the day or something, or Wednesday in the middle of the day before really everything, shut down. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I just wanted cat litter, the cat needs its litter. It's like kind of like toilet paper, I guess. Sorry. But I think that sense of panic and being out of control is, the control thing, I think, is exactly right. And that's also kind of what drove this. It's like, we can control what we do. We don't have to give in to the chaos. I mean, we can be measured and mindful about what's happening to us. We can control us, ourselves. And, and as a business owner, as a solo business owner, we control that every single day. When you think about it, we're making a decision every day about what we're going to do or what we don't do, what we choose to do, what we don't choose to do. And so that kind of brings us to the, okay, if everybody around us is in panic, how can we deal with that, right? How can we connect? And, Jeff, it's interesting what you said about 9/11. I mean, yeah, everything, believe me, I remember my sister was in Tower 7, in the building 7, and we didn't know what happened for 24 hours, if she was okay or not. She's okay. But, as I said earlier, my business basically collapsed within a year because of that, because everything just stopped. Business stopped. And that also just shows me that we need to make really mindful, deliberate decisions now and think outside the box, kind of like what Janice, you said your client is doing. It's like, oh, I've been wanting to move online. Now is the time. So how can you help do that? And also we didn't have the exact same technology in 2002 that we do now. I mean, there was no social media, I mean, I was ahead of the curve doing online business at that time. Very few people were doing online business. We were doing teleconferences, on $30 bridge lines in 2002 or 2001. There was no video calling, and if there was, it was very bad. So in a way, we are really fortunate because we have tools now that, one, we can stay in touch with people and we can have the eye to eye, right? I mean, I'm on Zoom every single day, multiple times a day, with either one or more people. And I feel like I'm connected all the time. Yeah. Because we have the visual, we have the body language. So let's look at, a couple of things that are, people are in a state of panic, but we don't have to be. We can choose whether we're going to succumb to the chaos or take control of what we can and make decisions from there. I vote for taking control. We have a choice, right? I vote for control.
I'd like to speak to Josie Ann's comment, because I think I hope you're not feeling yourself beat up about your daughter's comment, because the only person that knows your clients and what they need is you. And you weren't speaking to the whole world. You were speaking to them. And so, we can't fix everybody, and we can't fix everybody's disasters, and even if we want to. So but I do think her bigger point and yours is, we do need to try not to be tone deaf, and think about who might be reading and what they might be taking away. And I think that, and Jeff will be interested in this, and I mentioned this in Marketing Trailblazers, I have a younger sister she's 10 years younger than I am, so she's 60, will be, and she's an corporate executive coach. And she panicked for the first 24 hours of all of this. And then she realized, because she travels everywhere to her clients' headquarters. And now she's really realizing she has an opportunity to teach her clients how to do virtual team building. And so, again, like Janice said, there are opportunities in the midst of all the chaos.
Yeah. And the thing, Josiane, I mean, your clients are sales people mostly, right? That hasn't changed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that what you're offering is what they need, right? And the other thing is, you can, that I've been part of some other conversations in other groups around the web around this topic of how do we lead with service, but don't ignore the offer, right? So it could be like, hey, I want to get everybody together on a Zoom call, hey, any clients who want to come, and let's talk about what your needs are right now. How can I serve you right now? Right? So that could be I'm not going to virtually teach you anything. Let's just talk about what your needs are. And then you can make the offer, or they can say, how can you help us? I mean, because that's probably what's going to happen. It's like, oh yeah, we need your help right now. What can you do for us? Right. I mean, I think that's and it's not being sneaky about it. It's coming from service, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I thank you. I also wanted to add that, because my daughter's a millennial, she added that there's a whole bunch of memes on the internet about people that you haven't heard from for 10 years that are now saying, hi, I'm in business, and that being tone deaf. So supposedly it's rampant right now. So I think she was uber sensitive about it all. But yes, thank you. I'm not going to give up.
Yeah, no. And I think that this is really the conversation is, how do you, we have to be honest that we have to stay in business ourselves. We need to keep the cash flowing in so that we can maintain, our businesses, so that we can continue to serve people in the long run. This isn't a short game, right?
Yeah. And I wanted to add what Jeff said in terms of the difference between 9/11 and this pandemic. And being from San Francisco, we are on lockdown officially. And I just took a walk this morning, and on the front page of the Chronicle, it says, stay home. And I think this is one of the most disturbing parts of this pandemic, is that in any other world disasters that we have had, or any devastating issues, people have come to help each other. They've lent a hand, they've donated food. But when you are absolutely obligated to stay home and stay away from each other, that is pretty scary times,
Yeah, I know. I felt some distress over the weekend when I canceled my trip to not just see my mom, but both my sisters live in Northern California too. And so it was all like, oh, I want to be with my sisters. Oh, even if I can't see my mom, at least I would be like a few feet away from her. But, and then I just like, but I don't want, I don't want to be the one that, gets on an airplane and not knowing, gets infected and has no idea that happened and transmit it to somebody else. But that would be terrible, So, So, I mean, we all decided it was the right thing to do for me not to come up there. But, there was that desire, like, I have to be with my family, and so how can I be with my family? I can do it like this, right?
Exactly.
Of course, my mom
Exactly.
might have a little
But it's
trouble
clearly
with this.
not the same.
No, it's not. No,
Yeah.
it's not the same, but it's as good as we can get right now, right?
No, I think that's very, very important. I mean, for me, it's my grandkids. Yeah, I want to see my daughter, but I really want to see my two grandkids, and I've thought about driving down, and my wife, I just can't do it with my wife. I figured that was a way to go rather than flying. So we're going to just do some FaceTime and kind of put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's very frustrating that at least during 9/11, I was able to essentially do some counseling. I kind of did some quick reading and used my psychology to try to do some of that. But even that was not somehow satisfying for either me or I think the people I was dealing with. It was just such a deep, particularly if you're in New York, which is the epicenter. It was just very, very difficult to get people out of this state of malaise and depression.
Well, do you do online coaching and
I now have to do all online coaching. One day within 20 minutes, everyone, for 4 clients anyhow, wrote me and said, you can't do any kind of in-person coaching. We're not permitting it, and it's only on a high need basis. And sorry, you don't qualify. So, which is absolutely correct. But a lot of my clients are scientists, and so they're asking many of them to stay home, and of course, scientists can't do very much at home.
Right.
And so it's damned if you do and damned if you don't right now for a lot of my clients.
Wow. But you're still available as on call?
Yeah, I'm on call, but I'm not, candidly, everyone is just hunkering down. I've sent notes to people saying, I'm here if you need me. And so far, only one has responded. So I'm not expecting a lot of response. Maybe a week or so from now, I'll begin to get it. But right now, I think they're just focused on their own families and their own needs.
Yeah,
and
I think
don't
this
even
week.
Think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, in terms of if people aren't responding now, and I get that it's across the board, people are kind of like on hold while they're trying to figure out what to do. What are the other things that we can do, to be prepared for when they do want us, for when they are ready for us, whether it's virtually or when things come back, right? So, Elizabeth, as you said, this was like, woo, you realized how overbooked you were. So, I think a lot of it, I've got piles of things I could do. So, but what's the best thing to do, right? What's the next best step to take? And it might be something completely new, right? So Janice, like your client, wants to start meeting online. So, is that something that other clients can benefit from, right?
Yes, exactly. Like another example is I'm part of, I do a lot of networking. So each week on Wednesday at lunch, we get together. So this week we had the recommendation that there's no networking. And so I suggested maybe we could do it by Zoom. So they say, how does it work? So yesterday we organized everything. And this morning in those networking meetings, there's, everybody has the elevator pitch for a minute, but there's 2 presentations, 10 minutes each.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the 2 presenter didn't know how, never went on Zoom. So I offered him yesterday, if you want, tomorrow morning, we can do a practice together. I'll show you how it works. So we did it this morning, and he's really, amazed by this. I didn't know we could do this. And he's a travel agent. So he's effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you just changed his business for him.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
You just opened his business to him, because travel, I mean, I started a travel company last year. Guess what?
Yeah.
It's on hold. I mean, the whole industry has collapsed, basically. I mean, it's pretty crazy, but for now. So, but yeah, so like that's an opportunity of being of service to, hey, I'll put together a virtual meeting. We don't have to stop meeting. We can do this. And then people are going to say, how do you do this? Would you help me do this? I mean, I mean, I'm being very obvious about this, but I think that's the approach that I'm personally looking at. Like, how can I just talk to people and help them out? And then someday they might come and say, hey, you helped me out before, can I work with you? I mean, I don't make that assumption, but it could happen, right? The travel agent might be a new client for you. Janice. So,
yeah, exactly.
And Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go.
Denise, I have to say it. It's a perfect time to be writing people personal handwritten notes.
That's what I was just going to say. You could have a, virtual writing day, and that way you're putting people together in community, and people could be, I mean, you can be sitting here just like writing a note, I miss you note or whatever, or I love you note or something, but be in community. It's like, well, what's the best way to phrase that? Or what's the, how do you do notes about grief or, I'm sorry a loved one passed, because that's going to be happening, not to be crude about it, but well, it happens every day. We lose people. So,
Certainly.
A lot of people don't know how to write those kinds of notes. I mean, I always feel awkward writing them. So that could be, a way to create community around your thing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm going to say something a little crude.
Okay.
Don't lick your envelopes.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, that sounds silly, but let's not lick our envelopes. And if they're that kind, just go to the sink and get a little sponge and whatever. But I can't believe we haven't heard anything about the mail service about that, but it's really not a very hygienic thing to do anyway.
You're right. Or get the self-sticking envelopes.
And as much as I hate to admit it, there are other ways to connect with people besides handwritten notes. Emails at this point in time with this situation, pick up the phone, send people an email. People will remember that you reached out to them, even if, it just, you just never know. Those are just such important seeds to plant.
Yeah, I started. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I totally agree. And I was going to just add something, that being a solo entrepreneur, I'm used to working from home, and I've worked from home for 25 plus years, and I also have dealt with social isolation, just being an entrepreneur, working from home, and not everybody knows how to do that. There's a workforce that's being forced to work from home, and they're going crazy. That 9 to 5 workforce is just going crazy. They can't go to the gym after work. They can't. And I feel like us as solo entrepreneurs that have been through this, that's why handwritten notes and picking up the phone, which is so great because that's something that it's in my backyard, has really, people want to talk. They want to look at you. So more than even a note, just picking it up and saying, how are you? How are you? And It's amazing how I have not gotten any of those calls. I've been doing the calling, but it's amazing. Like even my neighbors that are just, you know, it's like, it doesn't cost anything to do it. So I think that that's a great opportunity, is teach people how to do it, or you do it as a role model.
It is.
One of the things I have started doing kind of sporadically, but I think I'll be doing it a lot more, that instead of a written email, I'm doing video emails. So using a tool like Loom.
Love that.
Yeah. And like I sent one to a client I hadn't heard from, like I just hadn't heard from her in a couple of months. I know she had surgery in November, and I was like, I had reached out a couple times. She never, responded. And so on the weekend, I just recorded a video and just said, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? How's your recovery? Are you okay? And she wrote back and was like, oh my God, what a surprise, because there it was in her email. Hi.
I love it. So what did you use, Denise? What did you use?
It's
what
a
was
tool,
the tool that you used?
a tool called useloom.com. And you just
spell it, please.
I'll type it in the chat. How's that?
Like I'm not in the chat, so.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Of course you're not. Loom, Loom. useloom.com. And they have a free version. I've been using the free one for ever. Although now they sent out an email offering half price. They're cutting their fees in half. So you can get their pro plan for $48 now. I mean, it's $5 a month or $48 for the year. And I was thinking of just picking that up for the annual plan. First of all, I want to support this, where I can. If it's something I need and use, I'm going to still keep on buying the things that I need and use, because this is another thing, is I don't want these businesses to go bankrupt because all of a sudden everybody stops doing business. So, and I mean, that's something that I think is also important. Who can you be supporting? Like,
Denise, that is such a great reminder that, in terms of what you said about each of us having some things we can do. If we have bought tickets to something, we don't have to ask for a refund.
Yeah.
And one thing that I have experienced just last night is some people that I've done some consulting with have a nonprofit, and they had it's an environmental group, a huge Earth Day event. It's the 50th anniversary of Earth Day in April. And I have been helping put them in touch with different sponsors. And my husband and I were a sponsor. And she was calling to basically say, looks like we're going to have to cancel it. And I said, well, first of all, absolutely, we don't want our money back. But may I suggest that you just tell all your sponsors, when you call them to say you're going to have to cancel it, just tell them you're making them a sponsor for the rest of the year, and that everything you do, you're going to promote, put them on your letterhead, put them on your flyers, whatever. And you might be surprised how few people will ask for their money back or any of their money back. So if any of you all are affiliated with nonprofits, nonprofits are going to have to figure out ways to spend things when they can't events, and maybe they can do it without losing.
Yeah, I do some work for a film festival here in Los Angeles, the Southeast European Film Festival, and this year's their 15th anniversary, and it's always the last week in April. And guess what? It's postponed for now. But and that involves people, filmmakers flying in from Eastern Europe, Southeast Europe, and anyway, this is a ramp up time right now. It's not happening. So I was talking to the founder, who's a good friend, but also, I work directly with her, and I was like, move it on, not the film festival online, but we can do a panel discussion like this, because there's like a big panel discussion that kicks everything off a couple of weeks ahead. I was like, we can do it online, we can interview filmmakers who are in Bulgaria or Romania or Macedonia, and we can do that online. People are connected now. We can do other things to keep people engaged until it's time. So like for your Earth Day thing, they can still do an Earth Day event. Do it. It's not going to be the same.
Virtual Earth Day. Yep.
Yeah, it's not the same, but you can still have people coming and going and telling people how, advising people on how to do stuff. I mean, we don't have to shut down. I think that's, and I know that's obvious, but it's just like we need to keep reminding the people who are, who we serve, that there are other ways, because a lot of people at first, when Vera, it's like, well, we can do this, we can do that online. And she's like, no, we can't. And then, last night it was, well, we'll have to do some stuff online. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Because she was just like, no, we can't do that. That's not professional. It doesn't look professional. It's like, I do this professionally every single day. Sure. Millions of people around the world. So it's just like, there's that fear of like, oh, this is different. Nobody will, join us. Nobody will, or whatever it is, we'll lose our audience. No, we're just doing it differently. It's time to adapt.
Yeah.
So Jeff, do you have any advice for, having those conversations with people who are kind of, resistant or in panic mode?
I think you have to, what you don't say is don't panic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, it's very obvious, but something that, I learned a long time ago, and I think a lot of people have forgotten. And just listen.
Mm-hmm.
I think just ask some broad, open-ended questions and see if, first of all, they're even in tune with the talking, and then just sit back and listen and respond, and see if they can. People need to express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Many people, and some people don't. So you want to play to whatever their tune happens to be. Just kind of listen to their tune, and maybe very little, or you may really get into a conversation.
Good advice.
Not very earth shattering, but
the basics.
Things we need to remember.
Yeah, it's time to go back to basics in a way. It's like what works, and make sure that you have that strong foundation, and then you can start thinking about what's beyond that, right? Make sure your foundation's strong, and that's your personal foundation too. I'm meditating twice a day, before I even get out of bed, when I'm going to bed, just to keep a sense of calm in my life. And some of you know that I'm involved in intermittent fasting and have a bunch of groups around that, but that also is a way I can stay in control, because I control what and when I eat, what time I eat. I'm not doing mindless eating, which was my previous life. But I'm keeping my fast, and I control that. Nobody can take that away from me. That nothing is impacted, nothing out there impacts that. So it's another way of taking care of myself. So, what are the ways, if we're, Josiane, I was wondering what that, that lockdown meant. Like, can you not go out for a walk? I seriously, because one of my sisters lives in Contra Costa County, and they're affected too. So like, I was like, well, what does that look like?
Well, what it looks like, very dystopian. It's very strange. I just went out for a morning walk, and there's very few people out. People are walking their dogs. They're not making eye contact, and then certainly staying far away. Everything is closed.
Mm-hmm.
Our Starbucks is open, but all the chairs have been removed and all the tables, and all the favorite coffee shops and flower stores and all of that, they're all closed. Everybody's closed. And no one's in the street. Yeah,
It's weird.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Hard for me
and
to
yet it's
visualize
a
San
beautiful
Francisco
day.
that way.
It's really hard to see San Francisco that way. It really is. Because I mean, yeah, even 9/11, even the '89 earthquake, I was here for that.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different feeling.
Yeah,
Really different.
I agree.
So I've been asked what the best medicine is, and I had always said it was nature, and now I'm reading a book called Successful Aging, by the way, and it says exactly the same thing. The best single calming agent is, in fact, nature.
Excellent advice.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I've got to jump off here, Denise, but I wanted to, a book I've been recommending to everybody, and I have been recommending it for months now, but it's particularly good right now, is called The Daily Stoic, and it's one of Ryan Holiday's books. And it's a bit like a devotional, and it's just a short read every day, but, and it's, much of it is along the theme of, what you can control, go for it, but what you can't control, for heaven's sakes, let it go. But there are many, many principles that have been around for thousands of years that really apply so well and so effectively right now. And I've had 2 or 3 of my friends that bought it because I told them to buy it a year ago say, oh my gosh, this book is perfect for right now. So if you're not familiar with it, it might be something that you'd enjoy.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up and reminded me again, because I have it on my Kindle. Another one for businesses that's also much along that same line is John Jantz's The Self-Reliant Entrepreneur.
Excellent.
And it's, again, it's a day by day, and it's kind of like a question and a quote from usually people who've written about nature, Ralph Waldo Emerson and people like that. And it's so good. Have you read that, Elizabeth, or gotten
I bought it on your recommendation.
Oh, okay.
and I started it about 3 weeks ago, reading it every day. It's fabulous.
Yeah, really good. And good questions to think about, and to keep yourself on track, in the ways that you can. Jeff, who's the author of Successful Aging?
Daniel Levitin, Levitin. And what I like about it is that it's totally research-based. I mean, there's some parts, and he gives a little bit of opinion. It's long. It's about 400 pages. But and it's also depressing in parts. But thinking about doing wills and final directives, that's not fun. But really, it's all about how people who are older indeed are have this wisdom, and that what value it has in the different parts of your brain that you can use as you get older, and probably shouldn't use as you're getting older. So it really is very, very informative. It's an area that I thought I knew a lot about until I started reading it. He's a neuroscientist, by the way.
Oh, well, I'm definitely want to pick that up, because being 60 and dealing with my 82-year-old mother who's losing her memory, I am acutely aware of what is on the horizon, and also trying to figure out how to cope with her, and support her, because she knows what's happening, and is so frustrated. And in the beginning of this decline, we're like, oh, we told you that, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what, whoop, stop that, she's not trying to be this way. this is not who she was, and this is very hard for her, harder for her probably than us. So
my wife is getting that way, so very acute. And
yeah,
the first pages, it's really very heartwarming. The number 3 killer right now is dementia, which is just mind-boggling to me. That it's moved up the list. One reason is we're getting older, of course.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna pick that up because, and I appreciate that you brought it up, because that's something that I'm taking a deep dive into myself. And how do we prolong our health span? I know that's kind of a new term. Well, maybe it's not new, but I only recently begun to hear it: health span versus lifespan, and how do you stay as healthy as long as possible? So
yeah, and how long you live. It's
how well you live, right?
How well you live.
Yeah, exactly.
Denise, you may have crossed paths with when he was living with John Hayden. John was real big in nonprofit blogging world, and and near the end of his life, he was interviewed by Chris Brogan, and they were friends, and he had the most marvelous sense of humor, and he said, "Look, Chris, the leading cause of death is being born." So I will end on that little bit of a dark humor.
That's a good one. Thank you for being here, Elizabeth. Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
And I'm willing to hang out for a little bit longer. Anything else? What do you want to talk about? How can I serve you right now?
I think this is great. I'm trying to limit the news intake. I'm trying to just maybe do about an hour in the morning and then shut off my phone by maybe 10, because there's so much coming at us. And if it's not me, I'm getting tons of articles from other people, or, so I'm trying to insulate myself from staying, current with what's happening, but also not go down this, rabbit hole. So
right.
If you have any thoughts on that, that would be great.
Yeah, keep the TV off. Is my
oh yeah, I don't own a TV, so that's that.
Yeah, I think that style of self-care is good. I've always been a news junkie, but a while back I would have the radio on all day, NPR on all day, just kind of in the background and keeping me company kind of. And I haven't listened to the radio in months and months, because it's just like, I can't deal with this. I need to focus, and it's now getting in my way. So I think that you're smart to do that. It's isolate from news, but not from people, right? The people you care about. I would say, yeah, and use the tools. There's another conferencing tool. I hadn't heard of this before, but I was chatting with a colleague who happens to be in Ukraine, of all places. His wife is Ukrainian. So it's called Whereby. Whereby.com, WHERBY.com, Whereby. I think that's it. And they have, it's like a very simple conferencing platform, and they have a free version of it, which allows you to have 4 people on at a time. Very simple. You set up your account and you just send people a link, kind of like Zoom, and they don't have to join anything. The free version, you can have up to 4 people on. There's no recording on it. But if you just wanted to connect with your family in an easy way, all they have to do is click a link and if they can either, use a microphone or webcam, and very simple. So I was like, oh, never heard of that. There's a new one, Of course, there's always Skype too, although I feel like it's not the most stable tool anymore, which is, people still use it, but every time I've tried to use it recently, it just hasn't worked for me. So I'm sticking with
Now,
Zoom.
Zoom is free right now, right? I heard that Zoom is free because I don't use Zoom, but
They have
Zoom
a
is
free,
free.
yeah, they have a free plan. I pay for the pro plan, but because the free plan is too limited for what I want to do. I've been using it for years, but yes, you can do 40-minute group calls, or as long as you want one-on-one video calls. It's also,
If you're going in, yeah, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was going to say, if you're going international, WhatsApp is really work. I just spent 2 months in South America, and then last year I spent 3 months in Australia, and I used WhatsApp with my clients, and it works as good as virtually anything else. And of course, it's free for
It's free,
everyone.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's really
Thanks.
really quite
Yeah.
valuable.
Thanks for, did you use it, the phone version? I mean, phone version, did you use it? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's, I use it when I'm traveling out of the country too. I don't usually use it for calls, but I have. But also, of course, now I need to know where you were in South America for 2 months because I love South America.
Uruguay and Argentina.
Okay. I'm supposed to go spend a month in Argentina in November. I don't know if that will be happening or not, but I am not canceling yet. So, and of course, Peru is my favorite place. But I'm having, yeah. Go ahead.
I would definitely try Uruguay.
Okay. I've heard that from other people too.
Were absolutely amazing, and the place to be is Punta de Este, which is mind-boggling. It's the Riviera. It is the Riviera of South America.
Excellent.
You were going to do this yesterday.
Oh, hi, Kira. I hear you.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry. I thought my audio was off.
That's okay. Just want you to know, we're eavesdropping.
Did you see my question about, because I just got on, the difference, or your take on the difference between Be Live and Zoom?
And Zoom. Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to answer that. Be Live is, of course, or Facebook Lives are another way that you can connect with people, via video. Be Live is a third-party app to use on right now only YouTube Live or Facebook Live, and it's not as stable, I don't think. I think Zoom is probably the most stable conferencing system out there right now, and the easiest to use personally. If you have Zoom for webinars, I mean, that's another added cost, but if you have the Zoom webinar tool, you can also broadcast that live on Facebook too, like Be Live does. But Be Live is a tool that allows you to have a little bit more features than Facebook Live permits. Like you can have 2 people on it, or guests on at the same time, which is hard to do. I don't even know if you can do it on Facebook Live at this point still. And you can have lower thirds, and you can bring comments up into the screen and that kind of thing. So I'd say Be Live versus Facebook Live is more the question than Zoom versus Be Live, because Be Live is about being live on Facebook or being live on YouTube, whereas Zoom, it has so much more going on for it because it's video conferencing basically, or audio. You can use the phone too to be on, and you can have, for the free version of Zoom, you can have up to 40-minute with up to 50 people, I think, or with the pro version, which is what I have, you can have up to 100 people on the Zoom call, unlimited, as long as you want, I guess.
Have you used Hopin much yet?
Hopin?
Yeah, you had recommended that one.
Hopin?
I think it was you. It's a conferencing.
I don't know Hopin
app that actually lets people pay?
I don't even know that one.
Okay.
So it wasn't me, but
Okay.
thank you for letting me.
Okay.
Is it HOPPIN?
Single P.
Single
And
P.
HOPIN with the asterisk.
With an asterisk?
Yeah. To take the place of the G.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll look that one up
Or
because I'm
apostrophe.
always looking up things. So that's a conferencing app where people can pay you online?
Yeah.
Bye, Josiane.
Bye, Denise. Thanks.
I don't know about Hopin, so I can't talk about it, but I will definitely be looking it up, to see what there's so many options. I mean, there's way more options than just Zoom and BeLive and Skype. And, there's also Google Talk. I mean, that kind of became Hangouts, or Hangouts became Google Talk or Chat or something. I haven't used that in so long. Once Google Plus kind of bit the dust, I stopped using Google Hangouts. But for stability, I think Zoom beats everything, and it's much less complex than GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar, and it's less expensive. So that's my advice for doing things like this, and also for doing webinars. I mean, you don't have to have the webinar function to do a webinar because you can screen share on this. So I've done webinars just on Zoom meeting, and it works perfectly fine. You don't need the webinar tool, add-on, I guess. So yeah, I would say if BeLive and Zoom are two different uses, actually.
Okay.
How are you doing, Kira?
I am good. I'm out here in the high desert, and this, this craziness that has afflicted everybody has offered me so many opportunities. So it's like, okay,
good.
Turn the obstacles into the opportunities. And I connected with somebody who, do you remember Heidi Parr?
The name is familiar.
Okay, Heidi was out here in LA years ago, and I reconnected with her from LinkedIn, had a conversation with her today, and I'm actually going to be on a call with her tomorrow as a guest with her in Erie, Pennsylvania, and she's going to be on Zoom.
Cool.
So it's freed up some certain things and given me opportunities to share some ideas with folks. There's so much that people can do. Okay, you've got forced isolation in some cases, especially here in California right now. And read that book, complete that course, reconnect with this person. We can do so much. Yeah. So, let go of the panic and the fear and the, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This morning, Dan Morris, in one of his emails, said that, so today is the day to suspend any corona paralysis you may have and start putting together that one course, book, class, pitch, podcast, program you've always thought your business needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If client work is slowing down, which it could, it's not for me yet. I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, it's definitely a time to carve out some of that space and say, what can I create?
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't been I know I haven't been writing on my blog as much as I used to, but I have a lot of ideas, so it's time to put some of those in writing. I've talked about doing a podcast. Well, maybe it's time to plot that out and put it together and record the first few episodes so I can launch it. It's those things like that. You need to grow your list, right? I mean, let's get down to basics here. What can you be doing that, you can do free webinars and that's going to grow your list. So if list building is one of your goals, you know, what are all the ways you can connect with people and be building your list? Yeah, I mean, adding content upgrades to your blog posts. I mean, that's an easy thing to, you know, because you already have the content. If, you know, rather than starting new, go back and update some with something like that. So, I mean, I know list building is a big thing. People always are, oh, I need more people on my list, which is true. We all, because there's churn always, you know, so how can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
How can you be of service? That's a thing, is that there's ways to continue functioning in our business and still be of service. And if one of those things is to do free stuff, because a lot of people are feeling like they don't want to charge right now for some things, fine, do a free webinar, do a free ebook, do a free thing, and exchange an email. There's some concrete advice right there. Very concrete. We've been talking about a lot of other things, the self-care and that sort of thing, but yeah. So it's a little bit after the top of the hour. I've got another call, but
You as well.
I would love to stay in touch and hear, you know, what kind of plans, what's going on, how are you moving through this, and if anything sort of came to you through the conversations we've had today, share it, you know, just ping me or something, you know, and let me know how you're doing, what's up. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Denise.
Okay. Thank you for being
very much.
here. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Kira. Thank you. Who else was here? Josiane, Elizabeth. It was good to be able to hang out with you this morning. So take care of yourself.
Denise.
And
Bye.
stay in
Bye.
touch, please. Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.